1980, on Philadelphia's home court, rookie sensation Magic Johnson delivered Los Angeles an NBA crown. But if the basketball world believed it might be witnessing the creation of a new dynasty, less than a year later, those notions were destroyed. The Lakers, unable to fulfill their potential, were eliminated in the 1981 playoffs. Philadelphia has had its share of frustration as well. The Sixers have been flirting with a title since 1976, when Julius Erving joined the team. In the last 6 years, Philly has been the league's best team, yet Billy Cunningham's club has been unable to win the big one, like last year's loss to Boston in the Eastern Conference Final, after leading 3-1. In 1982, LA and Philly are at it again. And this championship rematch is a chance for both teams to erase the frustrations of the past. Beyond the fight for the crown, they've both got something to prove.
His 11th season from Massachusetts.
From the Spectrum in Philadelphia, this is it, the battle for the supremacy of basketball, the championship of the world, the NBA crown. This contest is a story with all the elements of a Hollywood script. A rematch of 1980 set against the dramatic backdrop of these teams' frustrations in 1981 and their heroic struggles back to this championship round. Los Angeles is undefeated in the playoffs this year. And Philadelphia, well, to tell the Philadelphia story, you've got to go back to the Eastern Conference Final, where just like last year, they led Boston 3-1. The banner-draped rafters of Boston Garden. No team ever dominated a sport the way the old Celtics dominated basketball. In fact, no team has repeated as champions since Bill Russell's '69 Celtics. These men are the keepers of that legacy and the current defending champions. But that title and their hopes for a new Celtic dynasty are in jeopardy tonight. Down 3-1 to Philadelphia, they desperately need another miracle like last year's incredible comeback, especially since playmaker Tiny Archibald is injured. And as Celtics coach Bill Fitch explains, when the band loses its lead horn player, the music is going to sound a little different. But the sound tonight beating down through the Garden sellout is the same intimidating thunder which Cunningham had heard last year. And then the entire evening begins to look familiar as the Celtics announce that this series isn't over yet. The Celtics, on a 7-for-8 shooting performance from Robert Parrish, roll to a 20-point halftime lead. Could the improbable, the unthinkable happen again? Do the Sixers have some date with destiny? By the middle of the third quarter, the game is over, and there is little doubt the Celtics have returned to form. The roars that fill the Garden echoed last year's miracle. See you Sunday. See you Sunday. A foreboding incantation summoning the ghosts of Celtics past, declaring that the series will not end in Philadelphia on Friday, and that there would be a Game 7 Sunday in Boston.
Welcome to the Spectrum.
Selling pretzels is good money when there's a sellout crowd at the Spectrum. But the newspapers warn that if Philly doesn't win tonight, it may be the last sellout crowd this franchise sees. But from the start, the Sixers jump to a 15-point advantage and silence any talk about a Boston jinx or the Kelly Green specter or the ghosts of Celtics past. 15 points can disappear in the blink of an eye in this league, however, and slowly but surely, momentum is shifting. Things start rolling the Celtics' way. By the end of the third quarter, the crowd is considerably quieter, watching the Celtics peck away at a dwindling Sixers lead. With frightening resemblance to last year's infamous nosedive, the Sixers can manage only 27 points in the second half, the lowest total for any NBA playoff since the introduction of the 24-second clock. Now, the Celtics are showing their true bloodlines and their depth. In the fourth quarter, Boston pounds out a 23-9 rebounding advantage. When Kevin McHale drops in his 17th point with 7:58 remaining, the Celtics charge past the Sixers and into the lead. There is no looking back. As far as the fans of Philadelphia are concerned, the series is over as well. According to one Philadelphia newspaper, Boston need only mail in the score for Game 7. In short, they concluded the fans have had enough. The Sixers are alone now. In Philadelphia's eyes, they have choked again.
Players do not choke. At least players on our team, you know, they go up to shoot the basketball, try to do the right things. Some days it works, some days it doesn't.
For Billy Cunningham, as for most of the men in this game, it is as simple as that. Explanations like choke or jinx are merely words. The shifting fortunes of this series are determined in the here and now and on the court. But when history repeats itself like this, even Cunningham must feel a little spellbound by the haunting memories of last year.
I'm so tired of hearing about last year, I can't tell you.
Nothing is over until it is over. But almost everyone thinks Game 7's outcome is a foregone conclusion. Few teams have been maligned as harshly by both the fans and the press as Philadelphia after Game 6. Said one Sixer, "We have lost the respect of our fans, our owner, the press, everybody. We have nothing left to lose." From the opening tip, the Sixers played tough, determined, angry basketball. Displaying poise and composure, the Sixers dominate the Celtics. After the half, they never trail. And when Julius Erving calmly swishes this 20-footer, it becomes apparent that this year the Celtics will not repeat as champions. That today, the Sixers are not going to be denied. And then something unique happens. From the Boston crowd comes a ceaseless pounding chant, "Beat LA, beat LA." A selfless expression of confidence and support for a team which hours earlier had felt so completely abandoned. With each booming echo, the demons of the past are being purged. At last, the ghosts are gone.
One sure thing, when the team reaches this point in the season, they don't get here without having some character, without being able to overcome adversity. And we were only concerned with ourselves to prove something to ourselves that we had the ability to go out and perform in the Boston Gardens.
Never say die. You know, that, if nothing else, represents Billy Cunningham, because he's a coach who will never say die.
In victory, Cunningham acknowledges the Garden chant, which raised this rivalry to an extraordinary level.
That truly showed me a great deal of class. And as competitive as the two teams are, it surely made us feel good, and that's what it's all about, the competition. The only thing I'm going to say is I'm just ecstatic for the 12 guys in there because we stuck together, because everyone else had buried us, and I'm just proud of them, period. Goodbye.
Meanwhile, out west in Los Angeles, opening night for the Laker playoff season is a gala event. 1981's Lakers show closed early. L.A. was reigning champion last year when Magic Johnson returned after a midseason knee injury. But the team had trouble readjusting and was eliminated by the Houston Rockets. At this time last year, the Lakers were packing for summer. Things were pretty quiet in the Laker locker room. But how quickly time can change a place in a team. A year later, these players have regained their confidence and understanding of one another. The old chemistry and the magic are back. Tonight against the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Final, the Lakers continue their quest to regain the title. In the semifinal, they dispatched Phoenix in 4, thanks to an outstanding all-around performance from Magic Johnson.
Things just seem to happen for us. Click, 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 just keeps on.
Coach Pat Riley's fast break offense is one thing which makes the Lakers go. Not even the run-and-gun Spurs can keep up with Riley's Greyhounds. The Lakers are so fast, they put the Spurs in the past tense before they knew it. They were gone in 4. They've whipped them good. In Los Angeles, basketball has been a great show.
The Laker girls.
Bring on the finale. This show's got legs. Only Grover Washington's gentle anthem refrain could restrain the pressurized Spectrum, for this series promises to be explosive. The fast break and all-out furious style of play, a game of relentless tempo, has sparked both these teams. And for 2.5 quarters, Philadelphia has the fastest fast break. But this perpetual sprint is not without strategy. Riley surprises Cunningham with an aggressive, gambling trap defense. And what happens then is one of the most phenomenal turnarounds in playoff history. In just 10 minutes, the Lakers run off a 40-9 scoring blitz. The Spectrum is stunned by the awesome LA offense. But Cunningham knows it's their trap defense that's done the damage. It's a defense he thinks is illegal. And if the Sixers are to salvage a split in Philly, he knows he must prove it.
Robert Parrish hit me on top. I think he dropped
Game 2 is going to be a long one for referee Darryl Garrettson. That's because he's the pivotal figure in this sideline strategy battle going on between Riley and Cunningham. Cunningham has got to stop LA from playing its trap defense quite so enthusiastically. That's where Garrettson comes in. Billy must convince Darryl that what the Lakers are doing is illegal.
I do know the rule. That is not. You can call it anything you like. It's legal. I'm going to tell you that right now. Watch me. Watch me. I'm going to be in charge of you. I know what it is. What are you yelling at?
But the line between persuasion and provocation is a fine one. So if he can't talk Darryl into it, he'll show him. By bringing Bobby and Caldwell Jones outside offensively, Cunningham forces LA to play his team man-to-man. When the Lakers fail to match up, the zone becomes obvious.
Who's back in no play? It's an illegal defense. Who? McAdoo.
After that, the Lakers play their traps much less aggressively, and Cunningham's strategy helps Philly maintain a modest advantage. But a margin like this is never comfortable in the NBA, especially against Riley's Greyhounds. And when a small Lakers spurt cuts the margin to 8 and starts looking like Game 1's ominous avalanche, it is, as they say in the NBA, winning time. And when it's winning time, Philly looks to one person. With a game on the line, Julius Erving takes this rebound coast to coast, sparking Philly to 6 unanswered points. Dr. J is capable of winning basketball games all by himself. And tonight, as he's done time after time, Erving takes Philly's fate in his own hands, and he delivers LA its first playoff loss. The cheers do not stop for the rest of the game, as Philly expresses its thanks for the efforts of this team, this man, and this man as well. He'd had a great game, too. Back in Los Angeles for Game 3, the jet set is beautifully turned out for this glamorous event. So many beautiful faces might distract another man, but not Pat Riley, not after the loss in Game 2. Now it's his move, his turn to make some adjustments.
We had some minor adjustments that we made on defense, but it was most of all directing our energies at the area that I think is the most important in this series, and that's the rebounding department.
Having the ball is the most important thing because the team that gets its game going first. You can't run if you haven't got the ball. That's what makes rebounding so important, and that's why these men do what they have to get the ball. On the boards is where the game is won. Under the boards is where the game is toughest. This is where basketball really becomes a contact sport. It's no place for the player unschooled in its methods. The subtle shove given at the proper moment, or the not-so-subtle blow from the arms and elbows as bodies crash together. People can get hurt. This is the kind of physical sacrifice it takes to get the ball. With unsung Laker forward Kurt Rambis providing the muscle. And Norm Nixon, the speed. He has 21 points in the second half. The Sixers never get closer than 15. But the stat sheet doesn't tell the whole story of this contest. There's no place for effort in the box score. And if Norm Nixon had the big numbers tonight, he could not have done it without the efforts of men like Kurt Rambis. Because to win this game, you had to win the battle of the boards. If championship play requires the physical intensity of Game 3, it also demands the mental concentration this figure's Game 4 performance exemplifies.
I find that if I try to keep an emotional level that is consistent and balanced and use my brain rather than my emotions, it benefits my game better.
That kind of emotional discipline has made this intensely serious competitor the game's most dominating player for 13 seasons. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar may not single-handedly carry his team to the playoffs every season as he once did, but when this master of the skyhook gets to his spot, he is virtually unstoppable. In Game 4, Kareem's 21 points, combined with the hot hand of another cool performer, Jamal Wilkes, gives the Lakers another victory. Philly, down 3-1, is in a hole no team in championship play has ever climbed out of.
We've been in this position the opposite way, being up 3-1, and we know that you got to win 4 games, and we're looking forward to coming back to L.A.
That's a foul. What is this, Bill?
If Billy Cunningham is going to sing California Here I Come tonight in Game 5, the Sixers will have to do a little jamming in Philly first. When Andrew Toney gives Philly its first lead of the second half, the crowd tunes up for a little chorus of its own.
Look at here. This place is jumping. It's really jumping. The Sixers got us all real high. I say it's really jumping. Big D is thumping. The BJ is bumping. When Dr. J does things his way, I mean it's really jumping.
The halftime show comes by, the fans just might forget their manners. They'll clap their hands, stomp the stands,
and go bananas. This place is jumping. It's really jumping. Sixers got us all real high. I say it's really jumping. Dealing, stealing, lightning quick fast breaks, thunder slams and two-hand jams and a couple of in your face. The spectrum is the place.
The Sixers deliver L.A. its worst playoff loss ever. The flip side of the 40-9 number the Lakers had played for Philly in Game 1. Kareem has scored just 6 points, and the Laker lead, now 3-2, looks a lot less secure. On the whole, the Lakers would rather be in Los Angeles.
Philadelphia was very, very, very aggressive. That's what it's all about. Any questions?
We feel that the only salvation for the Sixers is to have a super game from a superstar, Dr. Julius Erving. He is known around the world for his heroics, and we think that Julius Erving is the man that Philadelphia will have to rely upon.
In the history of sport, there have been few athletes whose singular stature goes beyond their athletic accomplishments. Individuals of mythic proportion: Babe Ruth, Muhammad Ali, Pele. Historically, it may be too soon to place Julius Erving in this august company. But to his fans, Dr. J is a living legend. In fact, in much the same way Jackie Robinson's heroic efforts created baseball fans in the late 40s, Julius Erving's style and grace has created basketball fans across the country. That's why it's not so surprising to hear remarks like these before Game 6, even in Los Angeles.
I think the Lakers are probably the best team around, but I'm rooting for Dr. J.
Dr. J deserves to be a world champion more than any athlete in the world.
Julius Erving is the best forward I've ever seen play the game of basketball.
Julius Erving's awesome presence has graced professional basketball for 11 years now, 6 in the NBA. Many stylish performers have entertained NBA fans, but Julius is in a class by himself. This is Erving's 3rd appearance in an NBA World Championship Series. In this league, getting to the finals even once is tough enough. At 32, Dr. J may not have many chances left. Cunningham, who played until he was 34, knows what makes aging veterans like Erving and Jabbar continue to be great.
You know, they have this great inner drive. I think that's why they're still playing. You know, it's not the physical things that go in players when they reach a certain age. It's the mental aspect of the game that's the toughest part, being able to get yourself prepared to play and still having that love and enjoyment of playing.
Late in Game 6, Erving's performance has kept Philly within striking distance.
5 more minutes.
With less than a quarter between the Sixers and summer vacation, Philly launches one last attempt at taking the series home. Tony's clutch jumper cuts the margin to just 3. In the time remaining, Pat Riley will live several lifetimes. There's only one number to call when the Lakers need a basket: Kareem's. Kareem can't hit, but he comes up with a big rebound and throws up a prayer. With game momentum hanging in the balance, Kareem's second effort finally drops through. Fouled on the play. His free throws give LA a much more comfortable 6-point advantage. When Jamal Wilkes' breakaway gives the Lakers a little insurance, the margin is 8, and the 76ers will not threaten again.
They're 13 seconds away from the championship. And now the Los Angeles Lakers start
the Lakers are about to become champions for the 2nd time in 3 years. If history calls this 12-2 playoff team one of the best of all time, the Lakers deserve it. And the Sixers, they too had played like champions. They had shown as much heart in defeat as the Lakers had in victory. As one writer noted, they never cracked. They just ran out of time. For the Lakers, this is sweet and joyful redemption. They had waited 2 years to prove they were still the best in the world. #1 again.